事，而家夠鐘。
Members, it's the appointed time and we have a quorum. Let's get started. This meeting is scheduled to end at 6 p.m. today. If necessary, I'll extend the meeting by 15 minutes. Let me remind members that if you have any direct or indirect pecuniary interest in relation to the discussion item today, please, in accordance with Rule 83A of the Rules of Procedures, disclose the nature of such interest before you speak on the item. Please also bear in mind Rule 84 of the Rules of Procedures in relation to voting in case of direct pecuniary interests. On this particular item, I declare that I am the consultant of the Bank of China, Hong Kong. The discussion item today is in relation to 38 nm construction of a new public market in Tung North New Development Area. According to the recommendation of the Public Works Subcommittee, the Finance Committee does not need to have further discussion on this item. However, Dr. Junius Ho, Mr. Michael Lee, and Mr. Michael Luke jointly requested that we have further discussion on this item. According to paragraph 3A of the Finance Committee, the chairman can put this question to vote. So I propose this question to members that this committee agrees to have further discussion on this item set out in PWSC bracket 2024-2513. Would members in favor of this motion please raise their hands? Those against, please raise their hands. All right. I agree that the majority of the members present are in favor of this motion, so this motion is passed. According to the decision of this committee, we will have further discussions on PWSC bracket 2025-242513. Let me first invite government representatives to join us. This item is to endorse PWSC bracket 2024-2513, which was discussed in the meeting of the Public Works Subcommittee on the 23rd of October 2024. That is to upgrade 38 nm to Category A at an estimated cost of $787.9 million in money of the day prices for construction of a new public market in Tung North New Development Area. Attending this item, we have Ms. Diane Wong, USEE, Ms. Tiffany Chung, Deputy Director of the Food and Environmental Hygiene Department, as well as Ms. Yuki from the Architectural Services Department. Members who are interested in speaking on this item, you may press the button. This is the Finance Committee. So the questions that you put to the administration have to do with the financial aspect of this project. So please bear in mind about that. If your questions aren't related to the financial aspect of this project, I can exercise the right as the chairman to not allow you to pose the questions. 19 members have pressed the button. They are Ms. Nixie Lam, Mr. Michael Luke, Mr. Michael Teen, Mr. Benson Luke, Dr. Junius Ho, Mr. Kissing Yang, Mr. Rock Chen, Mr. Stephen Ho, Mr. Brave Chen, Ms. Eunice Yung, Mr. Michael Lee, Dr. So Chun Wing, Mr. Lai Tong Kwok, Ms. Chan Yut Ming, Dr. Johnny, Mr. Ma Fong Kwok, Dr. Wendy Hong, and Mr. Peter Xu. 5 minutes for each member. Ms. Nixie Lam, please. Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to ask about this new market. A 200 square meter hydroponic farm will be included on the second floor of this new market. In the Tin Shui Wai New Market, there will also be an 250 square meter hydroponic farming stall. I want to know if this kind of hydroponic stalls are popular among local residents. If they aren't actually popular, then we're just wasting money by building this kind of stalls. So what is the construction cost of building such a stall? Are there any experiences that we can draw reference from for this new market? Ms. Wong. I thank the member for the question. The New Tianshuiwai market is not completed yet, so we don't actually have experiences from that market. We have been promoting urban farming. We want to incorporate urban farming in our development. Last December, we promulgated a blueprint, and we got the support from the relevant sectors and members of the public. This new public market will be built in New Kutong North, and the hydroponic farming stall concerned will be 200 square meter large, and it features farm produces. So we adopt the concept of harvest to sale in urban farming. We will work with the AFCT to see how we can lease out the stall. We want to look for stall operators with experience and capability to run the stall. If we have the relevant information about the mode of operation, we'll share it with members. So you haven't made an estimate of the return of investment or relevant information? Ms. Wong, on this particular hydroponic farming stall, we don't have the information yet. It takes a few years for us to build this market. If we have more information, we'll share it with members. Mr. Michael Tung. Thank you, Chairman. I have two questions. This market is going to cost some $780 million. I want to know if it is worth the money. I don't want to see idle stalls in the market after it's commissioned. To make the money worthwhile, I think you should be able to achieve the following. I asked in the previous meeting whether you will ask the operators to offer octopus card payment. Well, if you aren't able to attract patronage, then this market is not worth the money. Well, the administration said in relation to octopus card payment, the administration cannot ask operators to offer such a payment method, but it will ask operators to allow people to make e-payment or credit card payment. Well, we have credit card payment, we also have octopus card payment. So I appreciate that. On the mode of operation of the stalls, the administration said it really depends on the businesses of the stalls. If the stall operators allow octopus card payment, it means that they will accept less cash. Nowadays, if you go to a market, you can make the payment at the counter and you get the goods you want, and that counter can get a picture of how much business the stalls are making. You can roll out different discounts for the customers. In the long run, we want to only see e-payment because we want Hong Kong to be a smart city. Administration, please respond. Mr. Michael Tung, I think you should incorporate some financial elements into your questions. The question you should ask is that this new market, if it offers e-payment methods, then it will become a popular market. The administration, please respond from a financial perspective. We agree with the chairman. that this is related to the financial aspect. We have the new market modernization scheme, and under the scheme, we ask stall operators to at least offer one contactless payment method. We have taken into consideration Mr. Michael Teen's suggestions. We've also talked to the relevant trade associations. We agree that we should encourage stall operators to accept contactless payment. For new markets that are going to be commissioned, such as the one in Tianshui, as well as the one in Chengquan-O, and this particular one in Kutong North, we will, in the lease, require stall operators to at least accept two contactless payment methods. One would entail a physical card such as Octopus card and credit card. These are the two most popular types of card payment. The other payment method is that the stall operator should accept people to pay by their mobile phones. That is e-wallet. So tenants, based on their own commercial or business considerations, as well as the habits of customers and preference, decide which payment methods they will offer. The other question asked by Mr. Teen is about the enhancement measures we adopt in the newly commissioned markets. After the Public Works Subcommittee meeting, we talked to Mr. Michael Teen, and Mr. Teen asked us whether we would encourage incorporating some more popular stalls or businesses. We have to take into consideration people's needs as we decide on the stalls. Mr. Teen said that we should include stalls that make good business. Mr. Teen said that there are stalls that assess their businesses based on their customers. We are open in this area. We will explore what kind of method we will use to assess the popularity or business of different types of stalls. So we will liaise with the relevant stakeholders as well as Mr. Teen once we have a better idea of which stalls we are going to include. Dr. Junius Ho, on this new market, I have two major comments. We have to enhance speed, efficiency. We also have to save construction costs. In the Public Works Subcommittee meeting, I mentioned about this. This market is going to cost some $780 million. This construction unit cost is some $30,000 per square meter. The administration said the construction cost is about the same for other markets. I think you are being ripped off by paying this price tag. I don't think you should be complacent with this price tag. How come the cost of the markets in the mainland is much lower? Also, this market will only be completed by 2029. How come it's going to take so long for you to build this market? It's not that you don't have manpower. You have consultants. You also have resident site staff. So you should enhance speed and efficiency. Thirdly, if you are going to build a really high quality market with this cost, I would support this project. From Annex 1, we see that this market displays a very poor design. This market is located in a cul-de-sac. There are no other accesses or roads. There should be a road that allow people to go in and out of the market. This project is going to cost some $700 million, and with this cost, you should be able to roll out a high-quality market. But now I'm not seeing this.
So 3 questions. First of all, about the cost, and secondly, about the timing and the timeline, and thirdly, about the ingress and egress routes. First of all, let me talk about the cost. Each project, of course, is different from the next one. And the project cost actually is determined by the year in which it is being built, and also geographical conditions and geotechnical conditions, and also size of the lot, and so on and so forth. This is a new development area, and so it is not supported yet by roads or utilities network. And so that would kind of jack up the cost and also would have an impact on the timeline. Concerning the NDA Tung North New Market, when it's being built, it's got to be connected with basic utilities, and then the project has to dovetail with surrounding infrastructural projects, and also because the railway is being built nearby, there must be measures in order to mitigate the construction of the market on the construction of the railway. And if you compare it to Cheng Kung O New Market and the Tin Shui Wai New Market, and if you calculate it in accordance with the September 2024 cost, for this particular project, the per square meter cost is around $33,000, and so it is cheaper than the Tin Shui Wai market per meter, and also the Cheng Kung O New Market. As for the timeline, as I said earlier on, because of the various constraints as I have mentioned, and also because of site constraints, and because it is within the railway reserve, and also it has to dovetail with other construction works, and so the timeline has to drag it out more. If this is approved by Finance Committee, we hope that works will start in January this year, and the construction period will be around 34 months with an additional 3-month buffer, and also the drainage will take around 8 months, and so altogether 45 months. And that takes us to 2028 for completion. Of course, if the weather permits and there isn't a lot of rain, then maybe we could expedite it a little bit. But we're going to do our best in order to expedite it. And the third point is about the ingress-egress routes. We already mentioned this at the last meeting. Of course, your views are very good. At the last meeting, you said, or at the last PWSC meeting, you said that you went down there to have a look. Now, on the side of Area 19, actually, that project will be completed in 2026. And on the side facing Area 20, which is a residential project, it will only be completed in phases starting from 2031. So as long as Area 20 construction project will not be affected, we definitely will get in contact with the housing department. Actually, we've been doing that, and we will explore the possibility of having an additional vehicular egress on the side facing Area 20, so that it is connected to D3 Road. For this particular location, we are going to allow for the provision of such an additional egress in our design. Of course, if things work out between us and Housing Department, then we can provide these egress points. If not, then we look for alternatives. Right, that kind of placates me a little bit, because it seems that the department is willing to offer at least a possibility of an additional egress point. Now, concerning this particular project, I've got 3 points about finances. Paragraph 22 says that the recurrent expenditure from now on is around $45 million per year. I'd like to know whether you have any estimate on this. What is going to be the revenue generated per year by this market? Now, concerning enabling the market to break even, I'd like to know whether that is a priority consideration, and if so, how high on the priority list is it? And also, we have discussed the Kutong New Market many times before, and this will only come online 4 years from now. And it is difficult for us to predict what the market demand will be 4 years down the road. However, there is one constant, though. Cooked food stores definitely should command higher rent than light snack store because cooked food stores are very popular for residents. And also cooked food stores are going to attract even more customers to the market, and so that's good for the entire market on a whole. Many of our colleagues, whether it's at the level of the panel or PWSC and Finance Committee, have mentioned the desirability of a food court, but it seems that the department is not willing to budge. I just want to know whether the department can let us know what exactly is the reason for your reluctance to provide a food court. Is it operational? Is it financial? Or what? And also, operators have indicated to me that for traditional markets, of course, the design standards are high, and this one is no exception. However, for various reasons, maybe markets cannot be designed totally to fit the needs of the market. I'd like to know whether the department or the Bureau can consider the BOT mode for operating this particular market and, for that matter, other new markets, so that revenue generated by this particular market can be increased, and it will take us a shorter time in order to recoup the $789 million cost. So it seems that member that asked the question is concerned about the break-even situation. The recurrent cost is mainly made up of upkeep and maintenance, and also engagement of management, contractors, and also personal emoluments, and so on and so forth. As for revenue, mainly there are 2 sources. First, store rentals. The present mechanism is that there will be an open bidding exercise, and the R&VD will take reference from a reference rental, having taken into consideration store rentals of markets of similar nature. We still don't know yet what is going to be the upstart price for bidding and also the eventual rental. As for the operating part of the recurrent expenditure, that mainly consists of AC charges and also other regular services charge, and that will be recouped from the operators on a user pay principle. As for the cooked food stores, actually the housing department is commanding 7,200 square meters of space for commercial operation, and a large part of it could actually be used for sale of cooked food, so that Chinese restaurants or other forms of restaurants could indeed be provided by the housing department in that particular space. And of course, everything depends on market response. Many parts of this design actually are earmarked for dry and wet goods and also other facilities. And we have earmarked 10 stores for light snacks. And having taken consideration your views expressed, we are going to provide 120 meters of space where seating can be provided for patrons of the light snack stores. so that customers can sit down and enjoy the food they buy from the light snack foods. But of course, we keep a very close watch on actual demand to see whether there is any room for tweaking. And as for how best to optimize the markets and how the future direction should be, one of the possibilities is indeed the BOT mode. We heard you on this. We indeed will take your views into consideration, and if there is firmer proposals, we'll definitely come back to you. Mr. Luk, of course, we support the idea of having a new market for a new development area. The reason why we want this to be further discussed, because we want this market to be as good as it can be. We don't want to see a situation where when the market comes into operation and it has attracted a lot of criticism from users, we don't only want a future market for new development area. We want a good future market. We want a efficient market that can make the best use of space. I have several questions about the finances. At the last meeting, I asked this already concerning the location of the car park. At present, it is being designed to be located on second floor, so one floor above ground level. And the downside is that it can be accessible only by a ramp, and that takes up quite a bit of floor space. Last time, I asked whether it's possible to provide the car parks at the basement so that when people park their cars, they can go to the basement, and if they want to buy food produce, then they can go to the market upstairs. Have you assessed the cost effectiveness of this possibility? At present, you are only providing 34 car parks. Now, if you really want to attract as many people as possible, especially middle class people, to come to the market, I don't think 34 spaces are going to do it. If there aren't sufficient car parking spaces, then you may turn away potential customers. Especially if you want to attract middle-class families come to this market to provide patronage, I think you have to increase the number of car parks. At present, the floor space is not enough because of the need to provide a ramp. As a result, the cooked food centers actually do not come with its own seating, and seating is provided outdoors. And of course, when the sun is really beating down on you, outdoor seating really is a bad idea. And so if sufficient space can be provided, it would be best if you could provide indoor seating, especially for the cooked food centers, and that can definitely attract more people. I think this particular item is not going to go through synchronized bidding. If not, then I'd like to know whether there is any further room for fine-tuning, because we shouldn't be in a rush to do this. Thank you. Indeed, both bids will have to be undertaken at the same time. And my response to that particular gentleman is this. Now, concerning having to go through a ramp to go onto second floor car park, actually the design is such that the ramp is already as short as possible, and it already cuts back on the space that is required for the ramp. And as for whether the car parks can be located on the basement instead, I'm going to defer this to the ASD in due course. But I just want to say that we have already exhausted the plot ratio. And if we exceed the plot ratio, then it is going to eat into spaces earmarked for other purposes. Indeed, if we are to put the car parks on the basement, then in terms of cost, in terms of timeline, both will suffer adverse impact, and ASD can supplement on this. As for the cooked food center and the light snack stores, as I explained earlier on, since we're going to have 10 light snacks stores, we will provide seating in the vicinity so that consumers having purchased food from the stores can enjoy the food at the nearby sitting.
Architectural Services Department. If we are to have the car park in the basement, well, I'll have to add some ramps to connect the ground floor with the basement. We will also have to provide extra space for air ventilation as well as fire escapes and lifts and so on. This will affect the layout of the market as well as the number of stalls to be included in this new market. Also, if we are to have the car park in the basement, there has to be a 10-meter space between the boundary of the basement as well as the car park. So we won't be able to have lots of car parking spaces if the car park is located in the basement. Also, the cost will go up by 20% if we have it in the basement. And it will take us 9 months or 1 year longer to complete the project. So taking into consideration the cost, we think that the current design is more desirable. Ms. Wong? There will be 34 parking spaces. The market is close to the nearby residential developments. In Area 19, there are 60, and in Area 24, there are some parking spaces, and in some private residential developments nearby, there are 10. So in the surrounding area, there are 90 parking spaces for visitors. Mr. Kisanyang, I support the idea of having a new market in Kutong North because it is only reasonable that we have a new market in a new development area. Compared to the previous projects, I think that this project looks reasonable to me. While I find it reasonable, I think there is perhaps room for improvement. Firstly, I see that there will be photovoltaic systems which cost about $15 million. I want to know how cost effective it is. If it is cost effective, how come there aren't more photovoltaic facilities? I see that there is going to be a sheltered pedestrian walkway near the market, which doesn't fall under your purview, but would you consider building or extending the photovoltaic systems to some other areas? We know that in some buses we have solar panels, so I wonder if you can install more solar panels in the markets. That's my first question. Second question, I want to know the vacancy rate. For some projects under the Housing Society, they rent out the vacant or idle stalls to young people. If the stalls are not taken up by tenants in this new market, you can perhaps rent them out to young people. In Singapore or in Taipei, they adopt the same practice. Of course, you only rent out these idle stalls to young entrepreneurs for a period of time, and if they're able to make business, then it will be a win-win situation because it will also improve your revenue. Ms. Wong, I thank the member for his support of the project, as well as for the photovoltaic system. We will reserve 100 square meter space for the solar panels in the market. Perhaps the Architectural Services Department can supplement on this. There is a limit to how much we can spend on photovoltaic systems, so it's not like we can have unlimited supply of solar panels in this kind of project. we will be able to save some 9,000 kilowatt hours of electricity. We will also be able to reduce some 3,400 tons of carbon emission. However, there are other considerations. This kind of system can help us refrain from using fossil fuels, so we should not only look at the cost to be recovered, we should also look at it from the energy conservation perspective. We want to make this market as popular as possible. This market will be a competitive one because it is well served by the transportation network in the region. Also, in terms of the mode of operation, we will work on it to ensure that the stalls will be rented out to as many tenants as possible. In terms of how we're going to deal with the vacant stalls, the member suggested that we can rent them out for other purposes. If there are idle or vacant stalls in the future, we will talk to the relevant panel to see how we're going to handle them. Perhaps the Architectural Services Department can supplement on the energy conservation features. According to our internal green policy, to install renewable energy facilities, they have to be controlled at 2% of the total cost of the project. We have already met this 2% target in this project. Mr. Rock Chen. Thank you, Chairman. And the Secretary just now said that this project is going to cost some $780 million because of various reasons. This is because this market has to be connected to different types of infrastructure and residential development projects. Also compared to the one in Cheung Kwan O, this project is cheaper in terms of its construction unit cost. I have the following questions. On this particular market in Kutong North, has the government come up with different designs or proposals? And that's the proposal that you are adopting now is the most cost-effective one. Second question. Some members said that it will cost some $40 million for the government to run this market every year. We know that many people in the North District, they go to the mainland to get groceries apart from live poultry or fresh meat. Will you have trouble balancing the books in the future? In case you realize that you won't be able to rent out all the stalls and that the cost you recover is not enough to balance the books, will you consider rolling out enhancement measures to remedy the situation so that you won't record a deficit every year? Ms. Wong. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Member. We have explored different proposals. To give you an example, we've talked to the North District Council about this proposal. Our initial design covers 120 stalls. However, after talking to local stakeholders as well as district councillors, we have adopted their suggestions to increase the number to 140. So we have taken into account the capital cost as well as the cost for operating the market in the future. The second question is about how you're going to balance the books. Yes, we have been reminded by members of the Public Works Subcommittee that we are seeing a shift in people's consumption behavior. People are doing shopping online and they are going to the mainland to spend money nowadays. Say in the future we see vacant or idle stalls in the new market, we will explore converting these stalls into other purposes to make good use of the site. We are open to different proposals put forward by members. Mr. Stephen Ho, I'm the spokesperson of the Food and Environmental Hygiene Committee of the DAB. We're not quite happy with this design. However, we don't want to ban this project completely. If we object this proposal, we may have to wait for many years for us to see a new market in this new development area. Also, I'm concerned about the cooked food stalls in the market. As well as the loading and unloading spaces in the market. I wrote a letter to the government asking them about the 5 loading and unloading spaces for goods vehicles. There will be 140 stalls in the market, and there are only 5 loading and unloading spaces for trucks. The administration said that there will be storerooms for stall tenants if they need to store goods. I didn't ask them how much the rent is going to cost for stall tenants. One of my questions for the administration is that for some stalls selling seafood, they'll need salted water. Also, I asked if there will be live poultry sold in the market. When you come up with the internal design of the market, have you taken all these into considerations? How are you going to deal with illegal parking? Because there is not going to be enough parking spaces or loading unloading spaces. I think there should be more loading unloading spaces. You should allow flexibility in the design. If you can't ensure that there are sufficient loading and unloading spaces, you won't be able to ensure normal operation of the market in the future. Ms. Wong. I thank members for the suggestions on the store spaces as well as the stalls. I will address those questions first. Afterwards, I'll talk about the loading and unloading spaces. There will be 2 live poultry stalls, 1 hydroponic farming stall. We have 48 storerooms for lease to stall tenants, with each of them about 6 square meter large. Depending on the operation of the market, we'll see whether we need to adjust the design. Currently, we are going to include 5 loading unloading spaces, 2 for medium-sized goods vehicles and 3 for heavy goods vehicles. Apart from the hardware, in terms of the management, our FEHD contractors will monitor the time for loading and unloading the goods. Someone will be there to ensure good order so that we can ensure there won't be illegal occupation of the spaces. We'll also make sure that there will be enough storage space to ensure smooth loading and unloading of goods. If there are obstruction issues, we will talk to the law enforcement actions to deal with the problem. We will monitor the operation of the market. Say the loading and unloading spaces aren't enough for stall operators, we will talk to the Market Management Committee to see how we'll be able to handle the situation. Chairman, the administration was just repeating the numbers. say you have a flawed design, and when there are problems, you're going to use public money to settle the problems. Well, what I can see is that there won't be enough loading and unloading spaces. I can already foresee this. Please don't tell me that you're going to adopt the current design and then you're going to use public money to alter the design in the future. If I object to this proposal, we may have to wait for 10 years to see a new market in the area.
So, how the car parks are to be used? Of course, that would only be known when there is actual operation. And so, please do go back and look at members' views. Mr. Lee? Just now, Mr. Chan and Mr. Ho have asked certain questions, and actually I agree with them somewhat. This is something that we all want. This is a project that we all feel is needed. But we are here in order to discuss how best to tweak it. And also, we want to make it as cost-effective as possible. I myself am familiar with the Tsuen Wan Yong Uk street market. It's been a most popular market, and many parts of it actually are not designed by the government. And the outer streets of outside of the market actually are even more popular than the market itself. And that is all because the operators themselves had done a lot of tweaking and also fine-tuning of the MO of the market. I myself believe that the number of stores is not enough, because the larger the number of stores, then the more cost-effective it's going to be. And now, just now, several of my colleagues have already mentioned that the ingress and egress routes must be made as convenient as possible, because that's a very good way of attracting customers. And secondly, and it would be best if you can add to the number of floors if you want more space. Go vertical, in other words, in terms of expanding the space. And we don't want to see a design that is constrained for future growth possibilities. Concerning the car parks, we do understand where you're from. Now, this is a actually convenient location when it comes to traffic point of view. It's got a public transport interchange that's going to come on stream in 2027, and then Kutong MTR station is going to come on stream in 2027. And of course, the market itself comes with 34 car parks, and in the vicinity there are further car parks to be provided, and also bicycle parking spaces will be provided. But as I said, we're going to keep a close watch over the actual operation of the market on the ground and do fine-tuning if and when necessary. We do agree that the lot must be put to maximized use. If you look at the entire overall development in Area 29 of Kutong North, there is going to be a composite government building and government offices under GIC category, and also there'll be libraries and so on and so forth. And in other words, public facilities actually already amply provided in the vicinity. Now, I just want the Bureau to pay attention to the fact that in the past, there has never been an area in which facilities have been provided up to really the adequacy level. And so I hope that you can take those lessons early into heart so that you can provide further room for growth possibilities. Now, I have an open mind on this. Of course, the Tin Shui market costs $1.4 billion, and this one only costs $789 million. So this one is cheaper. But we really don't see whether you have brought in the use of new technologies for cost-cutting purpose, such as modular construction. Because the market itself is subject to an open design, and also it only has 3 stories. Really, does it have to be so expensive? Now, is there any room for you to further cut down on the project cost? And also for customer flow, we see that the market is going to be connected to Kutong North MTR station. Now, Kutong North is going to be at the northern part of the northern metropolis, and also many people are in Hong Kong already opt to go northward to Shenzhen to buy the fresh groceries. And so if this is poorly connected to surrounding transport infrastructure, such as the MTR station or the bus interchange, then is it going to affect the customer flow? If you go to Taiwan, you know that outside of the market, around its parameters, there are also many stores that are providing fresh groceries, shopping, and that really has an adverse impact on the Taiwan market. And as our market is already suffering from high vacancy rate and also poor patronage, we really don't want to see the same thing happening to this market. And also, are you going to operate this market yourself? Are you going to tender this out to outside operators? And are you going to bring in the use of BOT? So those are the questions that we want answered. Now, the Cold Food Center is going to be on a second floor, and the ground floor is for regular market stores. Is that really a good design? Isn't it a better idea to put all categories of stores all on a single floor so that people can, do one level shopping? Now, as for the possibility of modular approach and the possibility of using MFA, I defer this question to the ASD. As for customer flow and the modus operandi, my answer is this. Our estimate is that the catchment area around the market is going to comprise around 130,000 people, and also it is a convenient location as far as traffic is concerned, and so we are not too concerned about customer flow. Now, this one is going to be tendered out as a piece of public work, and it will be constructed as such, and similar to Tin Shui Market and Wan Chai Market, we're going to bring in a contractor that will be brought in to manage the market as well as promote the market. But a BOT is not an option because of the time constraint. But we will keep our dialogue with you open, and for future market projects, if necessary, we definitely will consider the BOT mode. As for the modular construction method, I'm going to allow the ASD to answer this. Actually, for this particular project, we have already introduced various cost-cutting measures. First of all, for the ground floor, we have already introduced certain technologies in order to reduce the number of pillars that will be required for the foundation. And also, we will bring in a central air conditioning system in order to reduce AC charge. And also, the roof design is optimized for cost cutting. Now, our roof is going to have a slant design, and that is more cost efficient than having a regular flat roof cement type roofing. And also, our cement panel materials are of a lighter build. And also the foundations will feature a fewer number of pillars, and so that's more cost effective. Now, as for the modular construction approach, that is going to be adopted for certain electrical and mechanical works. Mr. Siu, the paper says that for green features and landscaping features, you are going to provide those on fourth floor and the sixth floor and so on and so forth. And paragraph 35 says that in terms of reusing and recycling resources, you are going to make use of rainwater for irrigation in order to save on water consumption. And paragraph 36 says that for adopting these measures in paragraph 34 and 35, it is going to cost you 15 million. and energy saving devices will cost around $4.8 million. And you say that the energy saving measures are going to save energy bill by 10%. Now, I'd like to talk about the 10% energy bill saving. What exactly is it about? ASD, the present design can save energy bill by 10% because the EMSD has issued certain guidelines concerning energy consumption for public works. Our design will be 10% below that. So, $4.8 million saving. Does it come from using rainwater to save water bill? Our energy saving measures come in several folds. First of all, the elevators are energy saving. And also air supply systems are turned on only when it is being needed. And also LVA lighting systems. And also we have heat exchange systems for recycling exhaust air. So the saving of $4.8 million actually doesn't come from using rainwater. Rainwater actually provides further saving. So we should minus $15.6 million by $4.8 million. So that's the saving from rainwater. Actually, the $15.6 million saving comes from use of solar panels and also rainwater and also water resources management and also air quality management measures. Altogether will provide $15.6 million saving. So the $4.8 million saving actually is equal to 10% of the energy bill. So every year, you're going to save electrical bills by around $500,000, and that is going to recover your cost in 10 years. And every year, we're going to save around 330,000 AVs of electrical voltage. And also, you mentioned that the recurrent expenditure from the market will be around $42 million, and so that comes from air conditioning management and so on and so forth. And I'd like to know how much of that can be recovered by rental. As I mentioned earlier on, the recurring expenditure for the Kutong market is similar to the Tin Shui Wai New Market. Now, as for the store rental, the rental will be subject to actual tender results. And so we don't know how exactly the rental is going to be. As for the AC charges, the users will have to pay for AC charges. And so AC charges will be levied at cost. And when the market is being put into operation, when we have more data, we can share them with you. I'd like to know of the $42 million odd recurrent expenditure, how much of that is AC charges and how much of that will be recovered by store rental. But the AC charges are levied at cost, and so the store tenants will have to pay for the AC charges themselves. So you have to know the actual situation on the ground when the market comes to the operation before you know for sure exactly how much AC charges will be. Now, as for success examples that are already out there, I think you have to take reference from them. You see that some of the FEH department malls actually are not doing very well. They have a very high vacancy rate and also very low and small customer flow. And so you have to learn from those bad examples and also learn from the good examples. Now, for new development, of course, any new developments must come from new markets, must come with new markets. I support the market proposal, therefore. However, in answering our questions earlier on, I have two very distinct impressions. earlier on concerning the project cost of $789 million and also the recurrent expenditure, how is it going to be covered? It seems that the Bureau cannot answer those questions effectively. Now, because the completion of the project is several years down the road, and therefore there is still room for you to make further planning and provision for that. That is your question, and that is your stance. Now, it gives me the impression that you haven't really given sufficient thoughts to overall operational balance, and you only look at the bigger picture and the overall project cost. You may think that this is your role, but it seems that a subsequent question about the tender upset price of the rental, you fail to answer the question as well. I think you have to have some sort of a rough estimate at least in mind. I do have justification to feel that you actually have overlooked the trend that anti-North residents of Hong Kong are already flocking to Shenzhen for shopping of groceries. Is it possible for you to mark it up into smaller projects? Right now, this project is going to cost $789 million. Is it possible for you to split it into two facilities? Now, because if the market is located at a far-out location, then people might as well go to Shenzhen across boundary to shop for their groceries. And so I just want to know whether you have taken into account sufficiently the trend of people going northward for grocery shopping. And also, have you done enough to make this market conveniently located enough to attract enough customers?
Ms. Wong, I thank member for the suggestion. We have to wait for the RFVD to come up with a reference rental level. We have to look at the nearby markets as well as the situation in this new market to launch the auction. So we can't really give an estimate now. Some members asked whether we'll adopt an innovative approach to run this market in the future. We're currently in talks with members as well as other stakeholders on the design, construction, as well as the operation model. If we have new thoughts about them, we will share them with members. Well, there's still time left. I want to ask you about this. Have you thought of the trend of people going to the mainland to shop? This market is relatively far away from the nearby housing estates, so given the current trend, will you adjust the design of this market? Well, near this new market site, there are some public and private residential development projects. So there is a population of 130,000. So we believe that this market is going to be popular and that is going to attract patronage from local residents. We've taken into consideration the cross-boundary shopping trend and whether it's going to have an impact on this new market. We have considered the trade mix and we have thought about how we can promote about this new market. We have done a lot of work. We hope that this market will be popular and that it can draw footfall and that it will be competitive compared to the other markets in the region. Mr. Lai Tung Kwok. We see many failing examples of public markets. Paragraph 8 of the paper stresses that the site and location of the market is one major reason to attract patronage. So I believe the target of the administration is not just to build a new market, is to also ensure that it can attract patronage. It is believed that the annual recurrent expenditure of this project is going to be $42.4 million. How much money are you going to reserve to promote the business of this new market? Also, how are you going to promote this market? And will you reserve money to engage professional marketing companies to educate how stall tenants or operators can make sure that their business is competitive to attract customers, so that you can ensure that you can achieve your goal to enhance the vibrancy of the market, as mentioned in paragraph 8 of the paper. Another question is about the car park. You're going to have 34 parking spaces for private vehicles and 5 for motorcycles. According to paragraph 16 here, it says that all of these parking spaces will be equipped with EV charging facilities. Is it that all of the vehicles going to the market will be electrical vehicles? There won't be any vehicles using diesel fuels going to the market. Also, 25 of the parking spaces will be on the first floor. For those who go to the market on bicycles, do they have to bring their bicycles to the first floor from the ground floor? You mentioned that there will be a number of parking spaces in the surrounding area, but still is not sufficient. Typo Market has been popular. This is because there are quite a number of parking spaces. Therefore, many people go to that market during busy hours. However, there is a long queue of vehicles waiting to go into the market. Therefore, you have to think about how to deal with the issue of car parking spaces. You can perhaps charge people who are going to use the parking spaces on a 30-minute or hourly basis. Then you'll be able to control the number of people using these parking spaces. Ms. Wong. On parking spaces for bicycles, I'll ask the ASD to supplement. The member asked about the annual recurrent expenditure of $42.4 million. Some of the money will be used for promoting the market. And how much will that be? We'll engage a contractor to deal with the hygiene and cleaning work and management and security, and this will account for about $13 million. To enhance the vibrancy of the market, well, the member asked whether we will engage consultants to provide some recommendations for stall operators so that they can boost their businesses. In the contract signed with our contractors, we ask our contractor to offer recommendations to stall operators to advise them on how to boost their businesses. Yes, Mr. Fong. There will be 25 parking spaces on the first floor for bicycles, and it is connected to the external bicycle network, and it is connected with the D3 road, as well as the cycling track outside the market. How about the EV charging facilities? There will be 34 parking spaces for private vehicles and 5 parking spaces for motorcycles. All of these parking spaces will be equipped with medium charging facilities. Do you expect that all the vehicles going to the market will be EVs? If they aren't EVs, they can use the other parking spaces. Ms. Chen Yutming, I'm a district councillor of the North District. This item has been discussed in the Public Works Subcommittee. When the administration visited the district council, I was there at the meeting as well. I have talked to the administration about the recent trend of people in the North District going to the mainland to shop. I am Ta Kuling, and people from my district can walk to this market if they want. However, a lot of people nowadays go to Shenzhen to shop. This is because there is a retail price difference between goods in Hong Kong and goods in the mainland. So it deals a huge blow to the local retail outlets. The restaurants and shops in my district are struggling. The markets in Shenshui, Shakuhui, it used to be very popular, but there are many vacant stalls now. So this deserves the administration's attention. So I think the government should adopt special measures in the North District. For example, the government should review the leasing arrangement of the local markets in the North District as well as the rental level. Kutong North is a new development area. I give my support to new development areas. I think there should be a large-scale integrated market in the area. I mentioned about the market in Fanling as well as the market in Shenshui, Shakuhui. I think a survey has to be done on the situation of these two markets. Even though this proposal might be passed today, I still think that the government has to carry out its studies. How many markets are there in the area? It's not enough just to consult the district councillors. You have to study the situation in the North District, as well as the difficulties faced by the markets in the North District. You have to review the leasing mechanism of the stalls in these public markets to ensure that there is flexibility and that there is successful operation in these markets. Ms. Wong, we understand members' concern. We know that cross-boundary shopping is a trend, and this is affecting the local retail industry. In the North District, there are 4 markets managed by the FEHD. There are also 5 markets that are run by other parties such as the Housing Society. There are also 90 stalls selling fresh provisions with licenses. Overall speaking, in terms of what we can do to offer help to these markets in the North District, we will talk to the local stakeholders. Well, member also asked about the leasing mechanism as well as the rental level. On determining the rental, there is a mechanism. Where appropriate, we will adjust the rental level. We have heard members' views, and we will, based on the actual circumstances, adopt the right approach. Dr. Johnny I in principle support this project. This is because it has to do with people's livelihood. Local residents have to get fresh provisions from public markets like this. This project is going to cost $780 million. There will be 140 stalls in the market. So, on average, each stall will cost about $5 million in terms of the construction. So this is rather expensive. if this project is approved, I hope that government can ensure that it has enough money to build this market. The paper mentions that furniture and equipment will cost $10 million. I believe you are going to leave the stall tenants and operators to renovate the stalls. Then how come it will cost $10 million for the furniture and equipment? My third question is about the annual recurrent expenditure of $42.4 million. This is a huge sum of money. It covers the pay of staff as well as costs on preventing rodent and pest infestations and so on. So how much money is the government going to spend on preventing rodent infestation? Each stall on average will cost about $20,000 based on the annual recurrent expenditure provided. The management fee for each stall that is about the size of 16 square meters will cost about $100 per square meter. Well, the government said that it's going to decide on the rental level later, but is there room to reduce the price tag? Ms. Wong, I'll ask the Architectural Services Department to talk about the cost on furniture and equipment. And I'll explain about the cost of $780 million for this project. Yes, Mr. Fong. Furniture and equipment covers broadband installations and telephone networks as well as information display systems. It also covers public electronic storage, lockers, food waste facilities, and so on. It also covers office furniture, as well as fixed height office desks, telephones, and storage cabinets, and so on.
Pest control costs. What kind of percentage it takes out of the overall budget of $42 million? Of the $42 million, $13 million will be for pest control, as well as cleansing, and also security and marketing expenses. So pest control indeed is part of the overall annual expenditure. And members also mentioned that if we divide $789 million with the number of stores, then we would come to a certain conclusion, but that is not appropriate because there are civil works involved. And we need to lay down utilities and also infrastructure. And within the market, apart from stores, we have already mentioned that there are place-making features and greening features. And also there are corridors and plant rooms that have to be provided. And so you cannot simply divide $789 million with the number of stores. And you would not get the accurate picture of the per store cost because there are other factors involved. Mr. Ma, of course, several questions. First of all, I do agree that there should be a market that is close to population catchment. In principle, of course, this is worthy of our support. However, many of my colleagues, including Madam Ng just now, have asked this question. You say that you shouldn't divide the overall budget with the number of stores if you want to arrive at a per store cost. Of course, I do agree that there are other infrastructural factors that have to be taken into consideration. But have you compared, like with like, have you compared this proposal with similar market projects? Because if we look at the face of it, it seems that if the per store cost is around $5 million, then it definitely is on the high side because we're only talking about several hundred square meters of space. Another question is, quite a number of existing markets are located at areas where it is not exactly perfectly accessible for customers. And there are cases where store tenants would actually hire a store at your market, but actually their business operation takes place at another location nearby. And the market stores that they hire at your markets would then be used for storage spaces. There are many such examples, even in the downtown area. So we'd like to know whether you foresee that similar situation would occur at this market. Is it possible that people would simply hire a particular store at this market, but they only use it for storage space, and their actual business operation, their actual retail sale takes place at an alternative locations? Because we really don't want to see this worsening and becoming a trend. Concerning the construction of new markets, and if we talk about the per unit cost, we would calculate the per unit or per store cost on similar basis for all projects. We would divide the construction cost with the construction area. That is why if this is calculated on a basis of September 2024 price, then the per square meter cost for this market is around $33,000. And compared to the Chung market and the Tin Shui market, the per store cost for Kutong market is cheaper. And the Chung market per store cost is actually $34,000, and the Tin Shui figure is $44,000. And so Kutong market, on that principle, is already cheaper. Indeed, around our markets, existing markets, that is, there are certain on-street shops. So there indeed is a possibility that people would simply operate their retail sale at on-street spaces, whereas the market stores that they hire from us at our markets are only used for the storage space. But here, Kutong market is in a new development area. And indeed, there is a requirement that for market store tenants, they really have to man our market stores at their operating hours. If indeed we discover that they use our market stores for storage only, then we would carry out law enforcement, and we will issue warning letters, for instance, and also mete out penalties on offenders. Now, what if a very large number of store tenants have committed this offense? Then what are you going to do? Indeed, we will carry out law enforcement, but it seems that your law enforcement doesn't work for many existing markets. There are many existing markets where there are a lot of stores that are not manned and are only used for storage spaces. I think the number can be as bad as 90% of the stores at certain markets. Indeed, we'll go back and look for the actual numbers. We don't think the situation is as bad as 90% of the stores being used that way. We'll come back to you. You should reply to the Finance Committee instead of the panel, because the panel is supposed to look at the food and hygiene angle of this project. We are looking at the financial angle of this project. And so you should concentrate your reply or confine your reply to the vacancy rate and how best to manage your finances. Now, it seems that the Kutong North Market has an area of 104,000 square meters, and the annual recurring expenditure is around $42 million. However, looking back at the Tin Shui market that had come before us for fund voting we could see that the floor area actually is larger. However, its annual recurrent expenditure is only $32 million. And so Tin Shui Wai market is larger, and yet the annual recurrent expenditure is smaller. So how can you explain that for Kutong North market, its recurrent expenditure is so high? And also for North District citizens, many of them actually already going across the boundary for grocery shopping. And so do you foresee a situation where Kutong North market is going to suffer from high vacancy rate? And so in terms of tenant mix and in terms of rental setting, are you going to do anything in order to take that into account and mitigate that possibilities? FEHD, Madam Chung, thank you for your question. So members have drawn comparison between Kutong North market and the Tin Shui Wai market earlier on in terms of annual recurring expenditure. But each market is different from the last one. And so in terms of staff costs, in terms of operating costs, and in terms of upkeep and maintenance costs, and other recurring expenditure, no two markets are the same. Now for Kutong North market, its annual recurrent expenditure is actually within the reasonable range, and it is broadly comparable to Tin Shui Wai market. I don't think that is going to do it for Madam Hong. Can you really let us know exactly where Kutong market actually would incur higher costs? Which part of the market would incur high costs compared to Tin Shui Wai market? Now, part of the recurrent expenditure is for security. And so how large is the security staff really is dependent upon advice from the police. Now, for Kutong North, according to police recommendation, we are going to need a larger security staff. And in comparison, Tin Shui Wai doesn't require such a large security staff. And so all of these operational details would have an impact on the size of the expenditure. However, it's 50% smaller than the Kutong North market, and the recurring expenditure is 40% higher at Kutong North market. So do we really need to incur such a high security cost? When we estimate the annual recurrent expenditure, let me give an example, say, for operational expenditure, that would also involve electrical bill. And therefore, we have to take into consideration the latest electricity tariff level. And so that could account for the difference in the recurrent expenditure estimate. So if vacancy rate is really too high, then how are you going to respond to that? Now, there will be public auction in order to let out the source. After we have assessed the incoming upset price, then we will put it out for auction by store tenants. And if store tenants are interested and are willing to accept the upset price, or they have made bids and have been succeeded in winning the stores, then of course we will enter into lease agreement with them. Now, so as for how high the vacancy rate is going to be, the rating and valuation department is going to assess the market rental value in accordance with the outcome of the public auction and also the market situation nearby. And so indeed there is a possibility that the rental can be fine-tuned in accordance with these latest datum. I think our concerns mainly are how best to design this market so that it has got its own character, and also it can really take into account latest market trends, say people going across the boundary for grocery, and how best to make it convenient for shoppers and attractive to shoppers. Of course, the trend of people going northward for shopping really impacts on northern district markets. Now, around the Shui market, there are many public housing estates, and also yet the vacancy rate there is high. So concerning the 140 market stores within the Kutong North market, have you considered optimizing the tenant mix so as to address the issue of people going northward for grocery shopping? Now, because the market is 4 years down the road, is it possible for you to allow for flexibility in terms of tenant mix so that maybe at this point in time it is designed for wet goods sell? However, if indeed the market situation demands, you can always change those stores into other categories. Indeed, that is a very good idea. Our contractors definitely will take the prevailing market conditions into consideration when determining the optimal tenant mix, say striking a balance between the number of wet goods and dry goods stores. Indeed, we will keep our ears open, and at the same time we will look at the prevailing market conditions on the ground in order to adjust the tenant mix.
Mr. Kingsley Wong also asked about the mix of trade. Is there room for you to adjust your current design? There will be air ventilation systems, sewage treatment systems, and so on for our cooked food stalls. So there will relatively less flexibility for us to adjust the design of the cooked food stalls, but we will look into this with the local stakeholders. Can you add a few more stories to the building so that you don't have to make huge adjustments to your design? There are actual difficulties if we are to add more floors to the building because we've already maxed out the plot ratio. I'm saying if you are going to adjust the purposes of the stalls, for example, if you're not making business with wet goods or dry goods, you can perhaps change the number of cooked food stalls in the market. Have you taken this into consideration? To adjust the number of dry good or wet good stalls and to adjust the number of storage rooms or spaces, there is room for us to change the design. As for the technical details, I'll ask Mr. Fong to supplement. To change the use of these spaces, it has to do with the utilities. We have to make sure that there is or will have enough power supply and that our engineering and mechanical installations will be able to suit our needs. For power supply as well as the air conditioning system, we reserve 10% or more of the spaces to cater to our needs in case we have to change the design in the future. Mr. Michael Lee. We have to make sure that we are making good use of public money in this finance committee. For this new market, the estimated cost is close to $800 million. I'm concerned whether it is cost effective. So I look at the management fee, operational fee, as well as the construction cost. Many members are concerned whether we have to pay so much for this new project. It looks like the cost of this market is comparable to that of other markets. It is just a 3-story high building. Does the price tag have to be so high? I see that there are going to be some green features in this market. Since you're going to put in so much money in this project, will you turn this market into the first green building market in Hong Kong? Perhaps the Environmental Protection Department can help enhance the design of the market so that it can be an environmentally friendly one. I see that this market is going to be well served by transportation. There's going to be crowd near the market. Well, you've decided that you're going to build a market on this site. It's going to be close to the MTR Kutong station. It's going to be an interchange station. And 2 stations away we have Lok Ma Chau, and further away we have Lo Wu station. So will people go to the mainland to shop, or will they stay in the district or visit this market? So how are you going to attract patronage? What are some of the gimmicks you have in mind? Will you enhance the accessibility to the market, for example? Will there be barrier-free access or footbridge networks that connect this market with the other facilities in the area? My third question. You're reserving 10% of the space for other purposes. Well, the market is going to age through time. After the system has become old, it will be hard for you to replace the system. I'm afraid that this market will see many vacant stalls in the future, and that the whole market is going to be turned into a storage space or a warehouse. Will you ensure enough flexibility in case this market can be or will have to be turned into a warehouse? Ms. Wong. On the accessibility, perhaps ASD can supplement. I want ASD to also tell you more about the 10% of the space that we're going to use as a reservation. Our goal for this project is that we want to turn this into a green market. We aim at reaching the gold level under the Beam Plus policy. Many members are concerned about the impact of cross-boundary shopping on this new market. As mentioned, we will think about the mix of trade, we'll think about our publicity campaign. We'll also think about how to make the market more appealing. There will be a working group working on this. We have consulted the North District Council, and the local stakeholders would like to see an increase in the number of stalls to 140. So we'll continue to liaise with the local stakeholders. We will take on board their views to see how we can ensure vibrancy in this market. Mr. Fong. Member mentioned about the aging of systems and facilities in the market. In terms of the aging of the system, it really depends on the repair and maintenance works to be carried out in the future. If we are able to implement good repair and maintenance works, we'll be able to reduce the chance of our utility systems or facilities getting old. On the market's accessibility, we are able to satisfy the standards imposed in terms of the barrier-free access facilities. We also have barrier-free facilities in the toilets of the market. As to how well the market is connected to the nearby facilities, well, as mentioned, this project is going to be located in a new development area. We're still seeing construction works being carried out in the nearby sites. We have heard members' views. We're going to relay the views to the relevant departments for them to have further discussions. Mr. Perry, you. I believe most of the members of this committee agree that we need a new public market in the new development area. However, we all have expectations on this new market. We want to know whether there can be innovative approach adopted in this market. I see that there's going to be a hydroponic farming stall in the market. On the same floor, there will be cooked food stalls. It looks like there aren't going to be any seating facilities outside the cooked food stalls. As for the hydroponic farming stall, it could be a gimmick if you allow people to pick a certain plant or vegetable and you ask the chef to cook the vegetable right away. Apart from allowing people to get fresh provisions in the market, can you perhaps turn this new market into a tourist attraction? There's a historic monument. There's also a Grade 2 and Grade 3 monument. And there is another building that is pending grading by the authority. The Longping Park is going to be opened this weekend and is also situated in a nearby location. Apart from satisfying the daily needs of local residents, can this market serve a different purpose? Turning to the financial aspect, this 3-story high market building adopts the vertical greening features. I see many failing examples in terms of vertical greening features. A lot of the plants built on vertical greening features die, and that's why it costs $42 million for the annual recurrent expenditure, because it costs a lot to maintain these kind of plants on vertical features. Ms. Wong. On vertical greening, I'll ask ASD to supplement. I thank the member for his ideas on how we can enhance the appeal of this new market and how we can possibly turn this market into a tourist attraction site. So we will consider these ideas. Mr. Fong. Thank you, Chairman. There will be vertical greening, which will account for about 100 square meters of this market. We'll have to look at the different types of species that we're going to plant. We're going to grow some climbers, for example, which are easy to be taken care of. This is to reduce cost. This is a finance committee, that's why the member asked about the cost of maintaining these plants. Can you give us a figure? We don't have a breakdown for the cost of growing climbers or adopting vertical greening. But the cost is estimated to be about $3.8 million. So this is a rough estimate. Mr. Kenneth Lau. Chairman, in Kutong, there is currently a market shopping center run by the FEHD. It's not very popular. There are many vacant stalls. There will be a population of 130,000 in the area. How many people will be benefited from this new market? All 130,000 people? This is because this project is going to cost some $780 million. Such a huge sum of money. Ms. Wong, I thank the member for the comment. Many members are concerned about the businesses of this market. This is because the markets in the north or in the mainland are going to compete with this market. There is going to be a public transport interchange in the area, so people can easily take public transports to go to the market. We want to serve as many customers as possible through this new market. To the south of this new market, there is a market shopping center which was commissioned in 1985. It was built to provide fresh provisions for local residents. So this old market shopping center is not really connected to this new market to be built. We will see if there is a need for us to adjust the design of the Tung Market Shopping Center. We will consult the relevant district council as well as local stakeholders in due course in terms of the future direction of the old market shopping center.
Now, I would like to take stock. We have already asked 5 questions about sustainable operation and also 13 questions about cost and also recurrent expenditure, 6 questions. The users of various parts of market, 4 questions. We've got 5 members that are speaking for the first time and 2 members that are speaking for more than 1 time. And so please do not repeat the questions that have been asked. And for those that have not yet put questions to the floor and yet not inside this room, then you have to come down to the room as soon as possible. I think we have to draw a line after all of the people that I mentioned have already asked the questions because we have already spent 2 hours on this already. Mr. Wang, I won't repeat questions that have been asked. I myself am not on the PWSC or on the FEH panel, and that's why I wasn't a part of previous discussion. So mainly, the concerns of members today are a sustainable viability of the market and so on and so forth, and other issues. Now, is it really necessary for us to have a 2-story market with 140 odd market stores? Now, I would like to look at it from a value for money point of view. The trend of our citizens going northward for grocery shopping really is sweeping across the SAR, and that impacts even on markets that are as far out as Aberdeen market, and people's consumption and retail and shopping patterns have changed fundamentally. The Bureau is telling us that they don't know how the situation is going to be like 4 years down the road. I think 4 years down the road, we are not going to mention the term people going northward for shopping anymore because the 2 places will become even more integrated. Now, indeed, it has become a very big trend for shoppers to go across boundary northward for shopping, but the trend is not reversing in the other way around. The Bureau is saying that they don't know the impact of people going across the boundary for shopping as the market is 4 years down the road, but is it really impossible for you to know the impact? The last market viability study was in 2008, and back then it was already discovered that through the audit department that the vacancy situation at our markets was already very serious, and the audit department query whether the objective of providing public markets is already met for resettling hawkers, and because of the advent of fresh produce stores surrounding market, the market store vacancy rate has become very, very high. So the audit department says that the FHD as well as Revenue Bureau should first of all, number 1, look at whether existing markets are already in oversupply and whether the previous objectives of resettling hawkers have already been met. So that was 15 years ago. The audit department already came up with a report that was very far-sighted. If we look at it from now, so we are going to spend around $800 million for this market, and the $40-odd million will be spent every year for recurring expenditure. But if it turns out to be not viable, then what are you going to do to the market if it is not really viable in terms of its operation? Do you have any alternative uses for it? So this is about policy, but I will ask the Bureau whether they have anything to add anyway. Now, concerning past surveys and studies, indeed, we have borne them very much in mind, and we have been producing progress reports all along. Between 2018 and 2019, we have communicated with the panel as to the work that we've been doing and also our various plans. And at that point in time, we have indicated that we have positioned Hong Kong's public markets as a location for people to purchase fresh groceries. And so the bottom line is that the markets should be kept clean and also tidy without becoming very high-end retail outlets. But now our thinking is that apart from acting as retail outlets for fresh grocery shopping, we want to introduce more place-making features into our markets from now on so that they become areas that have become attractive for people to congregate. And that is why for Kwu Tung North Market, apart from 140 market stores providing wet and dry goods, we also provide spaces that feature green designs and also features that would be conducive for people to congregate and take a rest. So I'd like to have a follow-up question. Is it about the finances? The last question wasn't about finances. Right. Okay. The second question I'm going to ask is about the financials. So it's $789 million for 140 odd stores, and so it breaks down to around $5 million per store. From the very beginning, a question was already asked as to whether this was too expensive. But the Bureau said that it's 4 years down the road, and that's why they cannot tell as yet. However, you really have to have some sort of a consideration at least as to whether this is cost effective and whether it meets the principal value for money. I think you have to have some sort of a rough estimate concerning the average rental that is going to be realistic 4 years down the road, even 10 years down the road, and then you use that to measure whether your investment is worth it. You have to have a rough idea in mind. The reason why I mentioned the positioning of the public market is because public markets are public services, and so they are not completely commercial in nature. If we talk about commercial project, of course, we have to take into consideration IRR. However, for public markets, in the financial budget of the government, we do have information provided outlining the revenue or the incomings and the outcomings of public markets. The reason why we want to communicate with you as to the future direction our public markets should take and whether there is any room for new thinkings and whether any commercial elements can be introduced into the operation of public markets. And different people have different views. We have to take into consideration the needs of store operators and at the same time the needs of nearby residents. And so we continue to communicate with you, and then we will crystallize our discussion into recommendations, and by then those are ready, we will come back to you. I want to ask about something that is objective. Now, you mentioned that for commercial projects, they involve IRR but not public markets. I understand that for public markets, by nature, the IRR must be low. However, you must have some sort of a number in mind, at least for the IRR. I do not have the number offhand. I'll go back and look for it. Okay, what about law enforcement at the markets? And also, what about the overall territory-wide vacancy rate at our markets? And also, do you have an estimate of IRR for your public markets? Now, when you have that information available, please come back to us. Next, Mr. Chen, as Mr. Wong has already exhausted his time. I've waited a long time for this. On the 23rd, we had our last PWSC meetings and questions have been asked. And earlier on at this meeting, questions have also been asked about the trend of people going northward for shopping. And they are worried that the Kutong North market, when commissioned, would suffer a very high vacancy rate. Now, there is indeed some distinct possibility that that could happen. However, if you do not provide this Kutong North market, that is not possible either. Because there must be some facilities provided for nearby residents for fresh grocery shopping. Now, for policy issues, of course, we could discuss them at our panels. However, for financials, I have two issues that I'm concerned about. Paragraph 8. It says that the size of public market design and location are such that they should be attractive to end users. However, if you only rely on the size of the market design as well as the location of the market design, I don't think that is sufficient to ensure viability of the market. Now, this market is about to be commercial. Is it possible to use it as a trial for operating on commercial basis? Now, in the past, all of our markets are only managed by the government, but not operated on a commercial basis. So is it possible for you to introduce commercial element for your public facilities, including markets? I think the Kai Tak Sports Park already has introduced such an element. Now, there is still some time left before public auction or before tendering exercise. And so I think you should really take that time to really consider whether there is any room for introducing commercial element into your operation. Mr. Wong and I are both concerned about IRR. And so if you can introduce commercial elements, it can cut back on annual recurring expenditure. Mr. Wong has taken the question out of my mouth, but I want to take the question a little bit further. I hope that the Deputy Bureau Secretary can go back and dig up information. Compared to Chin Shui Wai, now it seems that Kutong North market is smaller at 60% of Chin Shui Wai market, and also the number of stores. Kutong North is 140, Chin Shui Wai is 150. And for hydroponic store, the space provided at Kutong North is smaller than the space provided at Tin Shui Wai. So the area is smaller, the space is smaller. For Tin Shui Wai is $32 million, but for Kutong North is $42 million. And so it's higher for a smaller area. So it's not reasonable. So why? Is it because of larger electricity bill and also larger security staff cost bill? So can you go back and look at the details of expenditure estimate? Is there any good explanation as to why for a smaller area and for a smaller size, Kutong North actually costs more to run recurrently than Tin Shui Wai? Okay, we'll come back with information after the meeting. As for the first question, for the future MO of the market, we are in the process of collecting views from members. We have heard members saying that we should consider whether there is any room for introducing commercial element into operation. Indeed, we'll take this very carefully into consideration, and if we do have a recommendation, we'll come back to you.
Ms. Judy Chen, a lot of members have spoken on this topic. This market is going to cost some $780 million of public money, and we are skeptical about this. As we all know, nowadays, public markets are facing different challenges. They have to transform themselves in order to attract patronage. We cannot avoid the trend of people going to the mainland to shop. This is a new development area with quite a sizable population, so we have to provide at least a market for them. However, we have to think about how we can ensure value for money. Like Mr. Chen Xiuhong said, on energy conservation, according to the paper, some $15 million will be spent on the energy saving features. According to paragraph 33 to 36, there is just a very small part explaining how the money is going to be well spent. $15 million will be spent on the energy saving features, but only 10% energy savings will be achieved. Can the government think this through? There are different types of new technologies in the market, including nanomaterials or new air conditioning technologies. If you adopt those technologies, you can perhaps achieve a higher percentage of energy savings. Since you're going to spend so much money on this project, you might as well explore what new technologies you can adopt to achieve a higher level of energy savings. Mr. Feng. Thank you, Chairman. As explained, we are following the latest energy saving control guidelines to achieve this 10% energy savings. We are going to include quite a number of energy saving features in this project. Each of these new features will help reduce energy consumption of this new market building. As mentioned, some 330,000 kilowatt hours of energy will be saved every year. When this new market is commissioned, we will have to perhaps make adjustments to the different features. We will monitor the use of energy every year by this new market building. We'll also incorporate some power management measures to ensure that there is a higher level of energy saving. So we will, or we might end up saving more energy. Mr. Andrew Lam, I don't need the administration to respond to my comments. I just want to offer some suggestions. I like going to wet markets. I'm also someone who likes to go against the trend. Wet market is not the major trend nowadays. I give my support to this proposal. This is because this is endorsed by the Public Works Subcommittee. However, the reality is that we can get all kinds of fresh provisions we want in a lot of places. We don't necessarily have to go to wet markets. You can easily get wet goods or dry goods in different kinds of shops. You don't even have to travel to the mainland to shop for these goods. I see that you are struggling with telling us how you're going to ensure that you will ensure sustainable business in this market. You are incorporating different types of features in this new market, including a hydroponic farming stall, cooked food stalls, and so on. If you're only trying to address the interim needs of local residents, then you should just perhaps build an interim market. So this new market is not going to be a long-term solution. Again, I will support this project. However, I see that this project is going to cost a lot. The next time you introduce another project like this, I will attend the panel meeting and I will object to the proposal. Mr. Yim Kong and Mr. Edmund Wong are going to speak, and afterwards I'm going to put this item to vote. So please be ready. Mr. Yim Kong, I'm speaking for the first round. Yes, I know. I've looked at the layout plans provided by the government, and I think the local residents will be happy with this new market, so I give my support to this project. For public housing estate residents, they live in very crowded area. I think these residents would like to go to a spacious market for shopping, therefore. In terms of the design, apart from accommodating the needs of local residents, will you consider satisfying the needs for other things? For example, will you incorporate sports facilities in the new market building for those who like to play sports? Will you consider, for example, including a library in this market building? Have you thought about meeting the different kinds of needs of local residents through this project? With limited budget, I hope you can try to accommodate the different kinds of needs of local residents so that it can be an integrated facility in the neighborhood. Some members say that this market is close to the mainland and that many people nowadays go to the mainland for shopping. Well, have you thought about reducing the number of stalls in this market and instead reserve spaces for other kinds of facilities? Well, this is not really related to the financial aspect of the project. Ms. Wong? Well, this market is a place for people to do shopping. We are going to adopt the place-making design. There will be gathering spots for people. There will be greening areas, which account for 460 square meters of the market. Some members asked whether there can be recreational facilities or libraries in the new market. As mentioned, there will be an integrated building. That building will consist of libraries, swimming pools, as well as community hall. If you look at this new development area, there will be enough facilities providing public services that meets the needs of people. Well, we had Mr. Edmund Wong speaking for the first round just now, and he spoke for 8 minutes during the first round. And after Mr. Edmund Wong, we have Mr. Bill Tang because he desperately needs to speak. 3 minutes for each of these two members. Mr. Bill Tang. There are lots of integrated areas in this type of new development areas. Years ago in Tung, New Town, there were integrated buildings and facilities. And some 10 years ago, we saw the emergence of Link REIT. Many members are concerned about people going to the mainland for shopping, but I don't think our housewives in Hong Kong, they would travel to the mainland every day to get groceries. You can't expect Kutong North to be like the districts in Kowloon. It is a new development area. If there isn't a public market, it will be very inconvenient for the local residents. We are lacking spaces for people who want to start their businesses and sell small products like handicrafts. So I made the suggestion of whether it is possible to have an office for the district care teams in this new market so that people can get public services and at the same time they can get groceries from this new market. Well, some members say that this price tag is high. Well, to build a new school, it will cost usually $4 million. So it's hard to say whether this project is too expensive with a price of $780 some million. So what I want to say is that I do think that there is a need for us to have a public market in a new development area like this. Mr. Edmund Wong, 3 minutes. Chairman, I asked for some statistics just now, and I was quite disappointed with the administration's reply. This is the Finance Committee. Anyone with some financial knowledge would look at the payback period and IRR when they try to assess a project like this. This is a project that concerns people's livelihood. I hope that when the administration comes to the meeting next time, they will have all this information ready instead of supplying the information after the meeting. Yes, Permanent Secretary. Yes, Mr. Lai. Many members are concerned about the financial viability of this new market. So after the meeting, we will talk to the FEHD to follow up on the issue. In the future new market projects, we will perhaps provide information in relation to the monthly rental income. Every year, the annual recurrent expenditure will cost as high as $42 million for this project. Well, I think the new public market is going to benefit the public. However, I do think that we should provide enough financial information for members to take into consideration when they decide whether to endorse this project or not. In terms of the rental income, I think it's hard for us to come up with an estimate because we will have to take into account the future trends. However, at least we should have an idea of the rental income during the first year after it's commissioned, because there are currently 4 FEHD markets in the district. So 3 additional documents will have to be submitted by the administration. The secretary has already jotted it down. So please provide the relevant information after the meeting. There being no further questions, I will put this item FCR bracket 20242536 to vote. Would members who support this project please raise their hands? Those against, please raise their hands. I don't see anyone objecting to this proposal. I think the majority of the members present approve this project, so this project is passed. So the next Finance Committee meeting will be held on the 22nd of November 2024. Today's meeting is adjourned. Thank you.